A ruthless Mafia don's calculated future unravels when he spots his vanished ex-wife working as a maid and a little girl begging on the street with eyes that are undeniably his. This narrative follows Kang Seo-Joon, the feared dragon of Seoul, who discovers a tragedy he never intended when he sees his ex-wife Zuri destitute on the street. The story unfolds as Seo-Joon confronts his own guilt, the threat of an arranged marriage, and the dangerous choice between maintaining his empire or fighting a war to save the family he left behind. Open the door. The command was barely a whisper, but the driver obeyed instantly. Seo-Joon stepped out of the climate-controlled silence of the Maybach onto the gritty pavement. Behind him, Vanessa called his name, her voice shrill and confused, but the sound was drowned out by the city noise and the thundering of his own heart. He moved across the sidewalk, his Italian leather shoes stepping over discarded flyers. He reached the storefront just as the woman turned. Zuri froze. Her eyes went wide, not with recognition, but with primal terror. She gripped the broom handle tighter, instinctively shielding the beggar child with her body. "I don't have the money yet," she stammered, trembling violently as she backed against the dirty glass. "Please, just one more week." She thought he was a loan shark. The realization hit Seo-Joon like a physical blow. He reached out, his hand gripping her thin arm covered by the maid's uniform. "Zuri." She flinched, letting out a sharp gasp. "Don't touch me." Seo-Joon didn't let go. His gaze fell to the child sitting on the cardboard beside Zuri's leg, holding out a paper cup. The girl looked up, terrified. Her face was smudged with dirt, but nothing could hide the shape of her eyes or the arch of her brow. They were cold, sharp, and undeniably his. The breath caught in his throat. "Get them in the car," Seo-Joon barked over his shoulder. Two of his guards materialized from the convoy, surrounding the mother and child. Zuri panicked, thrashing against Seo-Joon's grip as they forced her toward the vehicle. "No! Let us go!" she shrieked, clawing at his expensive suit jacket. She looked at his face, really looked at him for the first time, and the terror shifted into an agonizing hatred. "You? No! You died to us 5 years ago! You died!" Seo-Joon ignored the accusation, his face a mask of iron as he practically threw them into the leather back seat of the Maybach. He slammed the door shut, the heavy thud sealing them inside. As the electric locks clicked into place, he looked up. On the sidewalk, Vanessa sat in the car, her mouth agape, watching her fiancé abduct a maid and a beggar. Seo-Joon didn't even blink. He signaled the driver to move, leaving his fiancée staring in shock from the passenger seat. The private elevator doors slid open to reveal the sprawling expanse of Seo-Joon's penthouse, a fortress of glass and white marble hovering high above Seoul. The luxury was sterile and absolute, making the intrusion of the street below violently apparent. Zuri's worn shoes left streaks of gray slush on the pristine floor, and beside her, Hope's small, filthy feet left tiny, tragic imprints on the polished stone. Seo-Joon immediately went into crisis management mode. He paced the room, barking into his phone. "Get Dr. Choi here, now, and tell the kitchen to send up hot soup. I want everything sanitized." He hung up and turned to Zuri, his voice clipped and authoritative. "You're safe. I'll fix it. We get you cleaned up, we get the girl checked out, and I handle the expenses." "Fix it?" Zuri's voice was low, trembling with a rage that silenced the room. She pulled Hope tighter against her maid's uniform. "You think you can just order a doctor and erase 5 years of hell?" "I sent you $5 million, Seo-Joon roared, the frustration breaking his composure. "I exiled you to keep you safe. I made sure you were set for life." "I never saw a dime!" Zuri screamed back, tears finally cutting tracks through the grime on her face. "Your lieutenant took it all! He threw us out on the street the day you left! We've been starving in the gutter while you sat in this golden cage!" The silence that followed was deafening. The revelation hit Seo-Joon harder than a bullet. He hadn't saved them. He had funded their destruction. He looked at his daughter's hollow cheeks, the weight of his arrogance crushing the air from his lungs. Ding! The soft chime of the elevator shattered the tension. Seo-Joon froze. Only one other person had the override key. "Hiss," he hissed, panic surging. He grabbed Zuri's arm, shoving her and the confused child toward the massive coat closet near the entryway. "What are you doing?" Zuri protested weakly. "Quiet!" He pushed them into the darkness among the fur coats and clicked the door shut just as the elevator doors parted. Vanessa stepped out, her face a mask of suspicion. She took one step and stopped dead. Her eyes traveled down to the white marble floor, locking on to the trail of fresh muddy footprints leading directly into the heart of the room. She looked up, her gaze piercing Seo-Joon. "Seo-Joon, why is there mud on the floor?" For 7 days, the Dragon of Seoul lived 2 incompatible lives. By day, Seo-Joon was a terror, breaking negotiations and bones alike to secure his territory, his eyes cold and unyielding. But at night, the monster shed his skin at the door of the penthouse, entering a world of hushed whispers and walking on eggshells. He tried to be a father, but the gap was vast. When he offered Hope a plush bear imported from France, she flinched, hiding behind the sofa. It broke him more than any torture session ever could. He spent his evenings sitting in the shadows of the hallway watching Zuri brush Hope's hair. Hearing Zuri hum a lullaby he hadn't heard in 5 years, a soft, haunting melody, stirred a dormant ache in his chest. He wasn't just guilty, he was falling in love with her all over again, realizing that the empire he built was nothing but dust compared to the family he had discarded. But secrets in a glass house are impossible to keep. Seo-Joon had been careful, but exhaustion bred mistakes. On Tuesday morning, he left for a meeting, leaving the master bathroom door slightly ajar. Vanessa, arriving early for a lunch date he had forgotten, walked in to check her makeup. She saw it immediately. Resting on the jagged black marble of the vanity was a cheap pink elastic hair tie. It was small, frayed, and unmistakably belonging to a child, an intruder in her sterile designer world. Later that afternoon, Seo-Joon sat in his office, reviewing shipping manifests, when the heavy oak doors flew open. Vanessa didn't knock. She marched to his desk, her face devoid of the jealousy he expected, replaced by the cold, calculating look of a woman born into the Mafia. She slammed a manila folder onto the mahogany surface. The paper slid out, revealing a paternity test with bold, red percentages. "I pulled the hair from the elastic, Seo-Joon," she said, her voice deadly calm. 99.9%. Seo-Joon stood up, his jaw tightening, but Vanessa leaned in, placing both hands on the desk. "My father doesn't tolerate bastards, and neither does the Alliance. You have 24 hours to get rid of them. Put them on a plane or put them in the ground, because if they're still in Seoul tomorrow night, my father will kill them for you." The envelope felt heavy in Seo-Joon's hand, heavier than a gun. He held it out to Zuri, his face pale and drawn. "A private jet is waiting at Incheon. It will take you to Zurich. New identities, a house by the lake, fully paid for." Zuri stared at the tickets, her eyes filling with a crushing disappointment that hurt worse than her anger. "So this is it," she whispered, her voice hollow. "You play house for a week, and then you pay us to disappear, just like before. You're choosing your empire over your daughter." "I am choosing her life," Seo-Joon gritted out, the desperation cracking his voice. "If you stay, you die. I can't protect you here." Zuri looked at him, searching for the man she had briefly seen in the nursery the night before, but seeing only the boss again. She looked down at Hope, who was clutching the French bear.
"I'll go," Zuri said, her voice dead. "Not for you, not for your money, but because I won't let your world kill my daughter." The drive to the lobby was suffocating. Seo-Joon wanted to scream, to tear up the tickets and beg her to stay, but the clock on Vanessa's ultimatum was ticking. He walked them out of the elevator, his bodyguards flanking them in a tight formation. The sleek black SUV waited at the curb, engine idling. They stepped out into the cool night air. The city lights of Seoul blurred in the distance. Seo-Joon opened the car door, his hand lingering near Zuri's back, a final silent goodbye. "Get in," he urged, scanning the rooftops out of habit. Zuri turned to him one last time, her foot on the running board. That was when Seo-Joon saw it. A tiny, dancing point of red light appeared on the beige fabric of Zuri's cardigan, directly over her heart. Time seemed to warp, slowing to an agonizing crawl. Seo-Joon's eyes widened in horror as he recognized the laser sight. He didn't think, he lunged. "Get down!" he roared, throwing his body toward her. A single thunderous crack of a sniper rifle echoed off the glass skyscrapers. Bodies collided, hitting the pavement hard. Then, darkness took over. The burning in his shoulder wasn't just pain, it was clarity. Seo-Joon woke in the private clinic with the bullet extracted, but a realization lodged deep in his chest. Sending them away wasn't protection, it was surrender. If the Alliance wanted to hunt his family, they wouldn't find prey in Switzerland. They would find a war in Seoul. The grand ballroom was a sea of black ties and forced smiles. Vanessa stood at the center, triumphant, waiting for the merger that would crown her father the king of the underworld. She checked her watch, impatient. Then the double doors swung open. Seo-Joon walked in. He wasn't wearing the pristine tuxedo of the groom. He wore a charcoal suit, his left arm bound tightly in a black silk sling. The room fell dead silent. Vanessa's smile faltered as she saw the look in his eyes, the look of a predator who had stopped pretending to be civilized. He took the stage, ignoring the microphone stand, his voice projecting with lethal calm. "Tonight was meant to be a union," he began, scanning the crowd of corrupt officials and rival bosses, "a guarantee of peace." He paused, looking directly at Vanessa, whose face had gone pale. He gestured to the side entrance. Zuri stepped into the light, terrifyingly beautiful in a gown that outshone every diamond in the room, her head held high. "But peace is for the weak," Seo-Joon continued, beckoning Zuri to his side. "I am not merging my empire. I am declaring its queen." He took Zuri's hand with his good arm, interlacing their fingers. "This is my wife, and this," he looked at the confused crowd, his lips curling into a cold smirk, "is the end of the alliance." A heavy mechanical thud echoed through the hall. The guests turned in panic to see the main doors bolt shut. From the shadows of the balcony and the service entrances, dozens of men stepped forward, assault rifles raised. They weren't Alliance men. They were the Dragon's loyalists. The trap was sprung, and the cage was closed. The purge that started in the ballroom didn't end that night. For weeks, the city shifted as boundaries were violently redrawn. Seo-Joon paid the price in concrete and cash. He ceded the lucrative southern districts, lost the shipping lanes, and watched half his empire crumble into the hands of his enemies to buy his exit. To the underworld, the dragon had been declawed. But standing in the dappled sunlight of the Hanggon Park, he didn't look like a defeated man. He wasn't wearing a bulletproof vest or a tailored Italian suit. He wore a simple wool coat and jeans. There were no earpieces, no armored convoys waiting at the curb, and for the first time in a decade, no gun tucked against his ribs. The silence around him wasn't expensive, it was peaceful. Zuri walked beside him, her hand warm and firm in his. The shadow of the terrified maid who scrubbed floors was gone, replaced by a woman who walked with the quiet confidence of someone who knew she was finally safe. Ahead of them, Hope chased a drifting autumn leaf, her laughter ringing out clear and bright, startling a flock of pigeons. She stopped and looked back, her eyes, his eyes, crinkling with joy. "Daddy, come on!" Seo-Joon waved back, a genuine smile breaking across his face. He had lost the crown of Seoul, yes, but as he watched his daughter run freely under the open sky, he realized he had won the only kingdom that mattered. He squeezed Zuri's hand, and together they walked deeper into the park, just an ordinary family disappearing into the golden afternoon. Seo-Joon burned his entire empire just to save his daughter. That is the price of true loyalty. If you believe a father should burn the world to protect his family, smash that like button. And if you want to be part of the inner circle for the next high-stakes saga, hit subscribe and ring the bell. The dragon has made his choice. Now make yours. Welcome to the family.